Shut up and sit down.
You're listening to the Cheaters Never Pin podcast, a proud part of the Section 328 family. Follow us on Twitter at CheatersInVRPin. Now, live from ringside, it's Mr. Workrate and JC. Never get tired of hearing my own voice, Tom.
It's wonderful. it's like music.
It is. It's my voiceover music.
It's almost as good as this Uncrustable.
Ooh, yeah. You have to tell the people your secret for them, though, in a second.
Okay.
Which is the first topic of conversation on this week's Cheaters Never Pin podcast. Hello, everybody. I'm JC. Right next to me here at the commentary table, my good buddy, Mr. Workrate, Tom.
Hey.
Tom's eating an Uncrustable. This is how we started our conversation this evening. He gave me, is it a life hack? Which I hate that term, but this is a Uncrustable life hack.
It's a life hack pro tip. So we'll combine those two together. But I eat all my Uncrustables completely frozen. As frozen as possible, generally, because the peanut butter in the Uncrustable gets solid. So you almost have this like peanut butter candy coating. You have the bread, which no one cares about, and then you have the peanut butter kind of coating that, like, when you bite into it, kind of just cracks almost like candy, and then there's the jelly inside, and it's so much better than just like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's more of a dessert treat this way.
That does it for our show tonight. Thank you for listening to Cheaters Never Pin. Thought it was funny to just end with Uncrustables talk.
Damn, that was easy. Good night.
No, you guys are not escaping that easy. We got a jam-packed, much like an Uncrustable, a jam-packed show for you tonight. Got him.
Yeah, that was a great segue.
Thanks, yeah.
Segooey.
We're going to talk about Payback from this past Sunday.
Oh, right, that happened.
That was the thing. We actually watched it together. It was quite nice, Tom.
We did. We actually got some viewers on our live reaction too.
That was great. Had your lovely wife made a wonderful dinner?
Yes, she does that. She has that talent.
It was great. You know what else? You know what else is great? Balls of fire.
Yes, they are great balls of fire.
Great. We'll talk about that being a thing. Then I'm going to bore Tom to death for hopefully no longer than 10 minutes talking about the WWE Q1 financial report that came out today.
That may be time for the second Uncrustable. I'm not sure.
This may be the most used section of our show ever for the 30-second skip button. So I'm not going to judge you, but I find it fascinating, and really, much like Vince has WWE to keep him entertained, this show is simply to keep me entertained.
Well, instead of the 30-second skip button, I recommend viewers, if you're watching the podcast, which that's sad if you are, because we isn't a visual thing, but if you're listening to the podcast, instead of doing the 30-second skip, feel free to speed up with that 1.5 to 2 time speed thing, because it has to be entertaining to listen to us sound like chipmunks.
I've never tried that with us. All right.
Yeah, I've done it with the other podcast in our podcast family, and it is pretty entertaining.
I got something to keep me entertained tomorrow night.
There you go.
That'll be fun. We'll talk about Billy Corgan buying the NWA.
Not the rap group.
Nope.
The
National Wrestling Alliance.
Is Rick Rude still champion?
No, it's some guy I had to look it up. I will when we get there. But some guy that's been champion for a very long time. Also, Rick Rude's dead.
That doesn't necessarily stop the NWA, because they're kind of dead too.
Ooh. Then we got a 10 count, which ends in our traditional manner. So in case you were worried last week that we'd fallen off the death wagon, we are back on board.
Usually there's enough death in wrestling to be able to at least get somebody in there.
There you go. Yeah. Then we got the match exchange back again. Tom's got to rate a Guerrilla Warfare match. I got to talk about Stan Hansen and Kenta Kobashi. And then we got to give each other matches for next week.
Man, I hope I did that.
I hope you did too. If not, I know what you're doing when I'm talking financials.
Just popping up the network and going, that looks good.
Yeah. But anyway, if you're listening to us, thank you so much. You can be part of the conversation, be part of the show, be part of the family over at facebook.com/cheatersneverpin. Give us a big blue thumbs up there. We also appreciate your participation on the Twitter machine at CheatersNVRPin. And then wherever you listen to us, whether it be iTunes, Google Play, Stitchers, TuneIn, SoundCloud, YouTube, or Spreaker, rate, review, and subscribe if possible.
I actually tried to read that off to somebody that was talking about, asking me about the podcast and going, oh, how do I, listen to the podcast? I go, oh, there are many ways. And I actually had to pull the rundown because I can't do it off the top of my head like you do.
Oh.
I don't have that kind of skill.
I'm gonna break kayfabe and tell you that it's right in front of me every time. I could do it off the top of my head, but I read it to make sure I don't miss anything.
I mean, I think we're going to start doing this enough point that you'll be able to have that memorized.
Tom, we've already been doing this like 4 or 5 months. I want to put, we started in January. We started before Rumble. It's now the beginning of May.
But those are like beta episodes. They don't count, do they?
Yeah, they count.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because we did one beta that we didn't release. We did the actual beta, and then the episode 1 was the Rumble predictions.
Right. Yeah.
So almost 4 months. But still.
God, it's May, isn't it?
Yeah, we might get good at this at some point.
Some point.
Yeah. Let us know on facebook.com/cheatersneverpin or at cheatersnvrpin if this ever gets good.
Yeah. Just as a heads up, we appreciate it.
We're just going to stop.
We're never going to stop.
You know what's never going to stop?
What?
Braun Strowman killing Roman Reigns.
Not done with you yet.
Yeah, so that happened to Payback. Braun Strowman defeats Roman Reigns.
As he should have.
Yep. Gotta build that monster up. Get him ready for Brock at Great Balls of Fire and or SummerSlam.
Great Balls of... Well, no, wait. I'll pull that back in.
We're on Payback.
Yeah, I know. We're talking about Payback. We're not talking about future pay-per-views. We're talking about Payback. And
right.
I enjoyed the match for what it was. I had predicted in the podcast, feel free to check out previous episodes, that pretty much how it was going to go down, how they were going to do a similar thing to the way Roman and Undertaker went, in that he, due to his injuries, was going to take a bunch of moves but keep fighting back until eventually he gave in, and that's basically what happened. Braun hit him with a little bit of everything, and Roman kept kicking out, but eventually, just due to the fact that he was wrapped more so than the Yeti, he was obviously so injured, both physically and mentally, from the passing of his brother, that he eventually could not kick out of, what was it? It was the powerbomb, I think, or he gave him the giant hug again.
Yeah.
That came back.
I swear to God, if Braun the Strowman doesn't do a face turn at some point and join Bayley as like her guardian, and Braun walks around in the I'm a Hugger shirt, and that's still his finish, the giant hug, they have missed a huge opportunity with Braun Strowman. I just want that to happen. That it may just be me, but I want it. And that's all that should matter.
And see, 80s Vince would have been all over happy, huggable Braun Strowman, because he could have been that hillbilly Jim type of guy that would have come out and hugged kids. And
it comes out that his father's Jim Duggan.
Yeah, pretty much. And then ends up hugging everybody else. And I do have to appreciate Braun Strowman as well, because as what came out, and I did not see this on the rundown, so it's not on the Think Out or anything like that, so I can say this now. Braun Strowman is the son of possibly the greatest softball player of all time.
Oh, I did leave that off. I totally forgot about that.
And just having come from a softball game myself, I can appreciate the connection that there is from softball to professional wrestling, as Sid will tell you. But just the stories that I read about Strowman's father and his just legendary home runs that he would hit earned me a little bit more respect for Braun there, and I kind of want to have him on our softball team.
That would be fun.
That would be glorious.
Ooh. Yeah, but okay, going back to Payback.
Yeah, a little bit off the rails there.
That's fine.
Shocked.
It was
shocked. I know
it was on topic, but kind of not really. All right.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Strowman and Reigns. It was exactly what it needed to be, which you're gonna see me use that phrase a whole hell of a lot in the next 15 minutes. Strap in, kids. It was exactly what it needed to be for the amount of skill Strowman has now, which is exponentially more than this time 12 months ago. He is by far the most improved in the WWE.
Yeah.
It mirrored his strengths and hid his weaknesses. Roman still looked like $1 million, as he always does, and he always will, because he's Roman Reigns, and it's a pay-per-view match, so he's going to give a good performance. And it did what it needed to. Braun is built more like a monster, and then on Raw Talk, you let Roman get just a little bit in, just to ease it on back, remind you whose yard this is, who the big dog is. But that's it. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Used all of the catchphrases there.
I did. I'm positioning myself for a job, or to be one of those pre-show shills.
Okay, so
all you have to do is have a podcast with a certain number of viewers or listeners, or I obviously don't understand how podcasts work by saying viewers.
That's twice now.
That's twice.
At least you've done it as well.
But yeah, get a certain number of attention as a podcast and do nothing but talk good about WWE, and they put you on the pre-show.
Hey, we can do that.
Rosenberg, Sam Roberts.
We can be shills.
Yeah, I'll shill for free tickets. I don't give a fuck.
Now, remember, we are legitimate journalistic podcasters, but we can be bought.
What bit of journalism have we done?
We write things down sometimes.
My journalistic contributions are going to F4W Online and PWTorch.com and being like, all right, what happened this week? That's how I produce this show, ladies and gentlemen.
I just go to the Pro Fight database thing and look for matches for you.
Ooh, I enjoy that. That's my favorite part of the show, though. I really just bide my time for an hour and 20 minutes until we get to that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. Seth Rollins defeats... Seth Rollins? Wow, I cannot talk this evening. Seth Rollins defeats Samoa Joe.
Well, there's only one of him, so it's singular.
That's true. I was doing that, I guess. His knee still hurt all the time.
Yeah.
And Samoa Joe worked it over. The match was fine. It was nothing special. It doesn't stand out. I'll forget this match happened in another week.
I forgot a match happened already, so.
It was just kind of slow and plodding. And I mean, they told a good story in the ring. I think my issue with this right now is I'm just so sick and tired of the Seth Rollins knee bullshit. Like, since the time he came back after he had to drop the title, and he goes a few months, he hurts his knee again. So now it's just extended that even further. I'm just tired of him watching me like, my knee hurts. I'm Seth Rollins. And then it makes it even worse.
Exact promos.
Yeah. And then it makes it even worse that now we've made his finish that the Rainmaker knee trigger. So, like, he's got to have that knee. So, of course, now we're going to continue to work over that knee, so we can't use it as his finish, which is what a good heel would do. I don't know. He needs to get... That was going to be a terrible comment. He just needs to get hurt again so we can move on to a different body part.
But see, you can work this now and have his kind of tweener thing going because, because of his knee and the issue that it has, you need to put him in like an Austin-style knee brace.
Oh, yeah.
So then the amount of damage that knee does combined with the knee brace makes it an issue, and then like you'd have people complaining to Kurt Angle or whatever that knee brace needs to be taken off because it's a weapon. And yeah, I'm thinking of better angles than they're going to do, so I should probably shut up about that. But
yeah.
knee braces are always weapons,
but that's a very heel thing, right? And I like Seth Rollins better as a heel, so I'm good with this. Because this whole face run... Now, yeah, they screwed the face run up by bringing him back as a heel at first when he came in. Yeah. When he would have been massive, white meat baby face.
Yep.
So it's kind of tainted it. But I think he works better as a heel anyway.
Because he's swarmy. It works. He does swarm well. I didn't like him as much as a kiss ass so much to Stephanie and the corporation, that type of thing. Or wait, not the corporation.
The Authority.
Whatever. The generic, the LLC or whatever the hell it is.
That's the next iteration, the LLC.
Yeah. Whatever paperwork they filed this week. But yeah, to have him just he's sneaky. He works well as a sneaky heel, as kind of a cowardly heel type of thing. That works for him. I mean, it worked for Flair. I mean, it to have the outward confidence and then to turn around and actually in the ring when somebody's bigger than you, because Seth is not a big guy as in comparison to a lot of other wrestlers. So you need him in that kind of cowardly type of way, in that he has the confidence, especially if you put a belt on him. He has the confidence outside the ring, but then when you put him up against a larger opponent, you have him begging off. You have him looking for the advantage, the foot on the ropes, the headlock that turns into a chokehold when the referee isn't looking. That's his ideal style. Yes, he's an excellent worker and can do all these type of moves, and it's great. But I mean, I guess the same way in Flair, where you could have him do face runs from time to time, but he's going to eventually end up going heel. But I guess you've got too many heels as it is in Raw in the first place, so you kind of need a few faces up top.
I kind of like him though as the Authority figurehead that they've had to buy security for, that he just like is complaining to mom and dad constantly.
Yeah, I mean, I
love it. I loved I know a lot of people got really sick of it. I loved the whole Seth Rollins heel run with the title. I loved it.
I mean, I think it could work. I don't think he works that well with Stephanie necessarily, but I guess, I mean, that's more of a detriment to Stephanie than it is Seth, but I'm not going to sit here and talk bad about Stephanie, so I'm going to shut up now.
Well, let's move on to the House of Horrors match. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way.
Okay.
Jesus. Bray Wyatt defeats Randy Orton. Combined time of the pre-tape and the match is 17 minutes and 10 seconds. The match starts at the House of Horrors. Randy pulls up in a limo. We see inside the limo, he's sitting there shirtless, in jeans, black jeans, and with his elbow pads on.
That's how I ride in limos all the time.
My first comment was, well, he's definitely losing this match because he's wearing pants. Because Randy doesn't wear pants. Ever.
He didn't pose once.
Oh, no, he didn't, did he?
Nope.
Damn, I did not get my $9.99 worth.
if you can pose while you're burning down a house, you can pose when you're in like some haunted doll baby floating.
He should have been out the roof of the limo as it pulled up. Full pose.
Yeah.
You just see it coming.
Music playing from like the car stereo.
That would not have fit the very serious vibe WWE was going for. If this was Impact and it was Matt Hardy versus Randy Orton in a final deletion match, then that would have happened and it would have been amazing. But the tone of this was all very serious because that's how WWE wanted to present it. So
yeah.
He goes up to the door. The door of the house is locked. The house is lit completely blue on the outside, by the way. Door's locked. He sees Wyatt inside. He breaks in. They scuffle. They go into room 1. Room 1 was the baby doll room, right?
I don't think so.
There was another room first. I don't remember. They scuffled.
No, he kind of wandered around a little bit first before he ran into Bray, didn't he?
Maybe
because there was kind of the creepy thing where it was just like, oh, here's a creepy room. Oh, here's the baby flying above us room.
Yeah, baby doll's tied to the ceiling. They brawl in baby doll room. They move to the next room, which has this Blair Witch Project type wooden structure thing in it. Then they brawl to the kitchen, where they end up fighting on the floor for a while. Then Bray pulls using wrestling logic, a 3,300-pound refrigerator on top of Randy Orton. A shit-covered fridge, by the way, with "Follow the Buzzards" written on the back, man. And
that 4,300-pound refrigerator was pretty powerful.
It was. When you topple a 5,600-pound refrigerator on top of a guy, that's why you get to say he'll never be seen again. He's trapped. That's what Bray said on Monday. He was trapped, even though he made it out. I don't understand. Whatever.
Well, I'm assuming since he was wearing pants and not tights, he had a cell phone and was able to call an Uber that could help move that 7,500-pound refrigerator off of him in some way. Maybe a tow truck, I guess. I don't know. Can you Uber a tow truck?
If you hail an Uber to help you sit back up an 11,500-pound refrigerator, do you actually have to tip the guy? I know they're not supposed to take tips, but you tip the guy, right, in cash a little bit?
I think so. Okay. I mean, just is there anything in the refrigerator? I mean, I don't know if you want that, onion dip that's in the refrigerator. I don't even know if it's technically onion dip. It seems like onion dip, but it could be guacamole.
Something funny that was pointed out to me later on, the oven in there in the House of Horrors was a fairly new oven with a glass top and a digital clock.
Yes, I remember seeing that because it's actually similar to the oven that we have.
I missed it. I missed that in the heat of the moment.
But it was white and ours is black, so it was totally different.
Yep. But anyway, Randy's now trapped underneath the 13,250-pound refrigerator, and Bray goes outside. The house turns red. He gets in the limo that's just sitting there waiting. He goes, I need to get to the arena, man. And then they take off. Thoughts on part 1, the actual House of Horrors?
I mean, I didn't expect that much from it. I mean, and you can't do blood. You can't do a lot of things. I mean, you're still putting together a PG product, so you have to go with something that's creepy, not scary.
Right.
So you're limited into what you can do, and you can't go true hardcore or anything like that, So you're in the kitchen, you hit each other with a frying pan here and there or whatever. Somebody gets slammed with a spatula, I guess. I don't know. But, I mean...
Colander to the head.
Yeah. It was something. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more action, but apparently this house is still technically for sale, so I don't know how much they could really destroy it. It's a $30,000 house if you'd like to purchase the house that's in Missouri somewhere. I mean, wait, no, maybe it's in San Jose. Sure, it is. But yeah, the one other thing they could have done too is at least kind of put it in the same time zone as you've got the pay-per-view that's going on in San Jose, California, where it's
6:30.
Like, yes, I was going to say 6:30, 7 o'clock, and the sun's in the process of maybe going down. But when they're fighting at the House of Horrors, it's completely like midnight there. So,
and they have the gall to put the live bug on the TV.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, you're watching it live. It's being shown at a live event, which the crowd loved, of course.
Every report I saw said that was the most used time for the bathroom of the night.
Yeah.
I went into this knowing, okay, this is WWE. They've positioned this as very serious, so they're going to use a very serious tone. This is not going to have the campy, lighthearted, fun tone of Tag Team Apocalypto or Final Deletion or Delete or Decay, which a lot of people wanted to compare it to. This was not that. It was never going to be that. They're also working, as you pointed out, within the PG framework. So we can't go full horror movie. We need to go kind of creepy movie. And I think the images that were there and the visuals that were represented harken a feeling that is reminiscent of movies like that would fall into that kind of a genre.
Yeah, I mean,
so I'm fine with it. And I wish they would have done more with the house. Let me rephrase that. I guess I wish they would have done more in the house. I wish they would have had a little bit more of a war. I guess there should maybe a weapon or two, pick up a chair and throw it. Stuff like that. Smack somebody in the back with a picture frame. Whatever. Take one of the baby dolls down and beat somebody senseless with it. Because it just felt like.
I was going to say, use some plunder, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, it just felt like they were just there for the set and then they left. That's my only complaint about it. Otherwise, I think part one accomplished what they set out to do.
And I think my main issue, I guess, was that I had no real problem with the gimmick of the House of Horrors or whatever. It's putting the second part into it. Finish it there. Right. I mean, I don't know if you wanted to have a pinfall or just here's a brawl that we're going to have here, and technically, Bray got away and Randy was trapped, therefore Bray won the match. The title's not on the line, so you don't have to worry about the legitimacy of a title changing hands or needing a referee present or something like that. Put it in the context of this is a brawl that we needed to have, a non-sanctioned event or whatever. You needed to do something on Bray Wyatt's terms, and you had to face the repercussions of it. Not okay, we're going to have this brawl, but then we're going to take a trip back to the ring so that we can finish the brawl, because that's something that we apparently need to do.
Yeah. Something that just occurred to me too is it wasn't supposed to be, this is me going way deep in kayfabe, so get ready.
Okay.
The match is the House of Horrors, not for us, right? It's not. Right. It's not supposed to be horrifying to us. We are just observers on the fringe. Randy was, while he was executing his plot to turn on the Wyatt family, he was embedded deep within the Wyatt family. I'm sure he divulged things to Bray about himself and his personal life and things like that in order to get in good with them and become part of the family. These may be things that Randy is terrified of that we're not aware of because that doesn't exist within the kayfabe world that is presented to us. And so Bray set up this House of Horrors to spook Randy and get back in his head again and take control of him again. Or try to, or not again, but for the first time. Now that he knows these things about Randy.
And I guess that's kind of one of the strikes that I had against it, was that Randy didn't seem all that scared.
No.
Randy just kind of went in there with this kind of the same reaction we did, as in, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And he went into another room and he's just like, what the hell is this? What the hell is this? Like I understand your perspective, and I would have liked to have seen that where, like, I don't know, give Bob a paycheck, bring his dad in to kind of like, I don't know, be staring in a corner somewhere. Go all Blair Witch on it.
I'd have popped for that.
Dad?
One of my favorite movies of all time. If I'd have seen a callback to that, I'd have been on fire.
Or just like it, or don't even give Bob the thing. Just like have some other actor type person who kind of have a guy in like a cowboy hat and a vest and like an arm like cast or something like that, just like facing the corner. Like that would screw with him a little bit, just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess maybe you don't want to pay for the rights for Blair Witch or that type of thing.
$32 it would take. They get back to the arena. Bray gets out of the limo, goes into the arena. They do his full entrance. The lights go out when he blows out the lantern. Lights come up. Randy's behind him. They have another quick scuffle. Randy is then promptly beaten down by Jinder Mahal and the Singh brothers. And Bray gets the win. Woo. I mean, that accomplished exactly what it should have. Especially in a situation where, they're going to their respective brands.
Yeah. I still want to think back to one of my favorite Simpsons episodes, the Cape Fear episode, where I want to think that as Bray Wyatt got into the limo and drove back, that for some reason Randy Orton was underneath the limo and repeatedly hitting speed bumps along the way, and let's drive through the cactus patch and things like that, until eventually...
I was sure Randy was driving the limo.
Yeah, that would have made more sense, JC.
I know. But anyway, it accomplished what it needed to in the end. I'm fine with it. It was fine. I am not... The vast majority of people are very, very negative on this, but I'm not.
There's a lot of hyperbole going on about that match, and somebody had mentioned something about it being worse than like the House of Horrors match that WCW had like decades ago, where they had an electric chair in the middle of the ring and Abdul the Butcher got electrocuted in the electric chair, but obviously didn't die because, well, yeah. And no, that was much worse. Like this was a mediocre gimmick of like a hardcore match, and then you had a 4 to 5 minute match or whatever it was when Jinder ran in. That was it. It wasn't. Was it one of the worst matches of all time? No, but it was there.
Yep.
And again, it wasn't.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was moving on. So you
okay, yeah, that's great. Please go do that.
I was gonna say, speaking of matches that were just kind of there, Alexa Bliss defeated Bayley for the Raw Women's Championship.
Yay! I say yay because Alexa's the best thing going in the women's division right now, 100%. Or at least in Raw. I'll let you have your Charlotte, whatever. But in Raw, Alexa's easily the best thing going right now, and that at the same time, I needed that belt off of Bayley. Not that I necessarily dislike her or anything like that, but again, we've mentioned this before. Her character is best as an underdog, working towards the title and working to kind of establish herself and show that, I'm as good as all these other people. And that it's been this crossed message of her being this deer in headlights going, do I belong with all these people? I'm so starstruck. Look at the fact that I'm on this pay-per-view. I can't believe that I'm here. But yet you're sitting there with the belt and you're being cocky in interviews for whatever reason. No, it doesn't match.
Right.
So to have her, and she didn't get that much offense in too. Alexa did a job on her and kind of worked on her head pretty well and ended up taking a couple of decent shots to the head, and kind of got the pinfall somewhat out of nowhere, in the sense that it wasn't like a finish or a long extended thing. It was just that she got dropped on her head one too many times and she ended up getting the pin. And I'm not sure if something's going to build more so out of that. She took the loss again on Monday, I believe.
Yep, she did.
So that seems to be going in the direction that I kind of want it to go in. And again, not wanting Bayley to not be successful, because I think she could be extremely successful and she could make that company a butt ton of money, but not in the way that she was being booked going in. So she needs to kind of do this negative turn where she ends up losing more often and kind of get down on herself so that she can work her way back up, kind of in that Rocky sense. Like, you got to turn around, you got to lose and get to the bottom so you can work your way back up again and be that inspiration again.
Yep. I agree 100%. And my feelings on her gimmick needing to become fiery babyface fighting from the bottom instead of fangirl were well documented last week. So check the archives.
Yeah, we tend to repeat ourselves. So.
Yeah. The Hardy Boys defeated Cesaro and Sheamus to retain the Raw Tag Team Championships. They shake hands after the match. Cesaro and Sheamus leave. Matt and Jeff go up on the turnbuckles to celebrate. Cesaro and Sheamus come back and beat the hell out of them. Then Cesaro and Sheamus explain their actions on Raw, saying that the Hardys are basically nothing but a nostalgia gimmick, and it's time for them to move on.
Were they wrong?
I can't say they are.
But, the seeds are being planted there. You can tell and I hadn't been following Matt Hardy on Twitter. Shame on me. But I am now, and you just follow his Twitter account, and you can tell it's getting more broken as we go along. And that's what we've all been waiting for anyway.
Yep.
Especially since my wife looks at him and goes, "What the hell is wrong with him?"
He's
delightful. He used to be a halfway decent looking guy. What's wrong? What's with his hair? Why is it'll all work out. You'll understand soon, hopefully.
Austin Aries defeated Neville by disqualification, so therefore Neville retains the Cruiserweight Championship after Neville pulls the ref on top of them to break up the last chancery. It was a really good match.
Yeah, it was a really solid match. Not groundbreaking or anything like that, but it was a really good match to watch. It was enjoyable. People didn't like the finish. Wah. It's how all those finishes used to be. That's how heels used to work.
I liked that finish.
A heel would turn around, they would do well and be a champion for a little while, and then you'd have a number one contender come along and seemingly have their number, and then heel would do something to get disqualified and retain his belt. That's what heels do.
Mm-hmm. Do I think it's logical that this rule exists to where that can just happen and it's a DQ and they keep their belt? No. But you need it as a storytelling device.
But see, and that's what they used to do. They would have these storytelling things where, okay, the champion would get himself disqualified on a regular basis because the challenger was so close and always seemed to have him where they wanted him. So then that's when you got the steel cage matches, you got the no disqualification match, you got the occasional weird whatever rule they would call it. Each federation kind of had like specific names for it, where if there was a disqualification, the title would still change hands and things like that. There was like gentleman rules or things like that. Just
this is clearly setting up a no DQ match at Extreme Rules, right?
I guess. I mean, Extreme Rules is still a pay-per-view. I don't know what pay-per-views are anymore.
Extreme Rules is the next Raw pay-per-view.
Okay, so yeah. Then yeah, that's going to be a no disqualification match or no holds barred match, or I don't know, referee in a cage match. I don't know.
Chris Jericho defeated Kevin Owens by submission because he couldn't get his finger on the rope to win the United States Championship. Jericho then goes to SmackDown, has his rematch Tuesday night, and promptly loses the title back to Owens, who then beats him mercilessly and injures him to the point where he has to go to a local medical facility and will probably be out for some time.
So everything that we expected to happen on Sunday happened on Tuesday.
Right.
What it basically did was it gave us an excuse to put Jericho on SmackDown so that when Jericho does come back, whenever he does come back, he's coming back to SmackDown to face Owens again.
Right. Pretty much.
Because otherwise, had Owens won on Sunday and done what he did on Tuesday, then Jericho disappears for 3 months or whatever he's going to disappear for, and when he comes back, he's still going to be technically on Raw, where we're eventually going to forget completely about the feud, because that's what you do, because they're on two different shows, and it's not going to work out. So you had to get him on SmackDown somehow, which I don't know. Maybe moving him to SmackDown originally would have been fine, but whatever.
Yeah. Good match though.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Again, I will state again, as I do every week, I'm still just enjoying this run of Jericho and him being able to perform at the level that he does at the age that he is.
Yep. On the pre-show, Enzo Amore and Big Cass defeat Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Woo. Okay.
Yeah, that was the thing.
All right. So, Extreme Rules is in June. That's the next Raw pay-per-view. And then in July, right before SummerSlam, is Great Balls of Fire. Tom, I can't with a straight face. Like, I have yet to say that and not chuckle to myself.
What?
And at first, I was like, I actually had to look at the calendar because I thought I was all fucked up with my dates, and I was like, this has to be April Fool's Day, and they forgot it was May. They forgot it was the end of April. It was not.
It's not a leap year where it's not leap year.
But, so, how? Why? What's happening here? Why is this a pay-per-view title?
I'm just hoping that there is some kind of corporate synergy going on where, I don't know, Tenactin or one of those like companies that takes care of Jock Itch is sponsoring it. Like this particular medication, like Jock Itch Torium sponsors Great Balls of Fire.
So I'm gonna play the ad that we all found out about this in, because it's hilarious to hear it said out loud by
professional saying Great Balls of Fire
by serious WWE voice. If it'll load, come on.
That's okay. We'll wait.
We'll just keep talking in the meantime.
The
whole busted iPad that I use for soundboard just went, the app crashed. Okay, all right. Producing on the fly. So
your producer's fired.
Damn it. Good. I gotta go to bed now. I'm tired. I did reach out on the Twitter and the Facebook to ask people what they thought worst titles would be. While I pull those up, do you have any submissions, Tom? What's a worse pay-per-view title than Great Balls of Fire?
No, you did not. You didn't tell me I had to think of one.
Putting you on the spot. Sorry, kid.
And you tell how well I work with that. You like doing that too.
I do. Because I want that raw emotion. I want to capture that moment, Tom.
And see, each time I think of something, I looked at the responses on Facebook, especially the one one of our associates said. And yeah, I keep going back to that one in my head. And
Nothing tops that. All right. While you think, I have this ready. I switched to a different iPad.
Okay.
Here we go.
Dallas on Sunday, July 9th. A brand new Raw exclusive pay-per-view debuts at the American Airlines Center. WWE Great Balls of Fire.
It is time to represent a new era of champions.
It's so funny.
Brock Lesnar.
Absolute.
And the fact Lesnar is associated with something called Great Balls of Fire.
Brock is back and on top of Raw.
For the very first time,
You're gonna
it's
say it again.
WWE Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah,
Live
okay.
Tickets available Friday, May 5th.
Brock is back and his balls are aflame.
Did you come up
I
with one?
can't wait. I cannot
Oh, God,
wait
Heyman's
to
gonna have to
hear
say it.
Paul
Oh, shit.
Heyman say great balls of fire. Because he will enunciate
He will sell
every
the hell out of it.
syllable of great balls of fire.
All right.
I'm greatly looking forward to that.
So here are the submissions we have. From Twitter, from our friend Daniel at Ed the Hyena 104. He submitted 3.
Ooh.
The pay-per-view where Lesnar wins the belt. He already has one. Jinder Mahal is on the card. It's the wrong show. And my favorite, just some low-key wrestling. From Facebook, Matt Byron Slater says, Braun's iCloud got hacked.
Sexy time.
So, my mother, the night the lights went out in Georgia, which then when I read this led to a discussion of me and her on the phone and me remembering In Your House 8, Beware of Dog, which was in Florence, South Carolina, where the lights went out. And then our buddy, co-host of Cheaters Never Win, Derek Wrestler, hell in an enclosed pool area. It never ceases to be funny.
Forever too soon.
It's never. Nope. Fuck Benoit.
So I thought of one as you were saying that because you actually literally said it. It was pretty much like
Oh, good.
WWE, your mother. You just said that. You're like, and here's another one, my mother. Like, yeah, okay.
That's a good one.
WWE presents your mom.
Mine was WWE Let's Do the Twist. And then they could follow it up the next month with WWE Let's Twist Again. All hits. All the time. But Tom, there's a lot of great song references here.
Yes. Many of those songs have been played on radio stations.
Yes, they have. There, you can also. I don't even know where to try to go with that. Amazon.com is where you can go. I'm just gonna plow ahead. Let me play this.
You don't need radio stations anymore. Screw your radio station.
Yeah. We're not doing that read anymore, though. I was going to suggest you could buy CDs with these songs on them.
Well, that's the thing. People don't listen to the radio anymore. They
They-
buy their own music.
They buy all the damn CDs. And the way they should do it is go to cheatersneverpin.com, click the Amazon button on the front page, do all your shopping on Amazon like normal. Buy your Chuck Berry CDs. Buy your Michael McDonald CDs.
Buy Uncrustables.
Buy some Uncrustables and freeze them bitches. Do it all through the Amazon button on cheatersneverpin.com. When you do it, it doesn't charge you anything extra, but it kicks a few schmeckles right back into our pockets, which we appreciate, to help cover the costs of the show and the website and everything we do at Section 328 and Cheaters Never Win and Cheaters Never Pin. So that's cheatersneverpin.com. Click the Amazon button on the front page. Do your shopping like normal, and we get a few cents, and we appreciate your patronage.
One day I hope that we can have a little mini fridge that will stock full of like Uncrustables and High Chew and
just for pay-per-views, just our pay-per-view fridge.
Yeah,
sweet.
The purple bag of Doritos, and I mean, I don't know why you'd refrigerate those, but
I mean, we got the space.
Yeah, why not?
Fill the space. That's one thing I learned in getting my theater degree. Fill the space.
I do not have a theater degree, but I was an English minor, so
close enough.
That's important.
Can I just peel back the curtain for a second and say that was the worst transition into an ad read we've ever had?
Okay.
Neither of us knew where we were going.
I started to see, and then I tried to go into another transition until I realized that we're not doing that one anymore. So maybe I should read the ad reads beforehand, or at least try to get an idea, because I realized that it's not April 30th anymore. It's May, so yeah.
Or I should tell you these things.
Maybe. I mean,
Sorry.
It's up to you.
It's late.
Yeah.
All right, Tom, go back to eating your Uncrustables, because I'm going to talk about WWE financials.
Okay.
Yes. So Vince and George Barrios and some lady named Michelle had their conference call today to discuss the first quarter
Sorry, I had to unwrap it.
Oh, thanks. Their first quarter financials for 2017 for WWE. Revenue, and I'm just going to read through the bullet points real fast until I get to the stuff I find interesting. Revenue increased 10% this quarter to $188.4 million. Holy shit, that's a lot of money for wrestling. The network itself averaged 1.49 million paid subscribers in the first quarter, which is a 16% increase over last year. So the network's doing some strong stuff. And of course, this is the quarter that included WrestleMania, so lots of WrestleMania facts and figures, including WrestleMania reaching a record 1.95 million global households on the network alone. It is the most watched WrestleMania in history.
That's impressive.
Yeah. More impressive, and I contributed to this heavily, during WrestleMania week, network subscribers watched 22.5 million hours of content, approximately 13 hours per subscriber.
I mean, obviously, you and I both can totally see that, because I mean, going into it, it's one of those things where you turn around and you go, okay, well, it's WrestleMania. Let's look at old WrestleManias. Mm-hmm. And then, you pull in pay-per-views, you look at, like, the stuff that's gone up. And a lot of people, I can imagine, like, who kind of jumped on for the first time or whatever so that they can get the WrestleMania, they're going to explore. They're going to look and go, okay, well, this is kind of cool where I can see all the old WrestleManias. Or if they're kind of the older fan, they can turn around and go, oh, I remember WrestleMania 10, that was the first one that I saw, or something like that. So
yeah, you can even look at it as, for original first run content that week that was live, there was 14 hours of it between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Hall of Fame, NXT, and Mania itself. So hell, people just sat down and watched all three of those as a possibility.
Yeah, because WrestleMania itself was 12 hours long.
Oh, Jesus. WrestleMania was the most social event in WWE history, with 5.19 million interactions on Facebook and Twitter during the broadcast alone, and 2.8 million tweets about Mania throughout the day. It accounted for nearly 30% of all social TV interactions on April 2nd, surpassing the CMA Awards, The Walking Dead season finale, and Major League Baseball opening day.
Judging by the amount of people that bitched and complained about the people that were talking about WrestleMania, I mean, you were either talking about WrestleMania or you were being much too cool to acknowledge the fact that WrestleMania existed.
Right. The brand is strong and has quite a reach. All right, here's the interesting stuff. And this is, I don't like to talk about the OIBDA and their operating income because the way they break it down and the way they try to cancel stuff out makes zero sense to me because I don't have a fucking econ degree. But I just like to look at net revenue by each segment, by each part of their business, which I find incredibly interesting. So for Q1 2017, the network alone made $46.5 million.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah. The television contract, $64 million for the quarter, which is an escalating contract too, so it goes up. So like in 2016, in Q1, they only made $60.7 million. So $3.3 million more year over year.
Even as ratings go down.
Right. They got a nice contract structure. Home entertainment, $2.4 million, which is a decrease from last year. Digital media, which I'm going to guess is shit like YouTube ads and things like that. iTunes sales, $5.7 million, up $300,000. Live events, which this is a huge increase, $32.1 million instead of $25.3.
Wow.
Yeah. They attributed a lot of that. There were 95 total events excluding NXT in the current quarter, as compared to 78 the prior year. So that's a huge jump for that. Licensing was down about $1 million to $20.1 million. Venue merchandise, which I've heard the argument that this should be included with live events because without the live event, there would be no venue merchandise.
Yeah, it's not like you have like pop-ups or something like that show up downtown.
Yeah. $7.1 million, up from $5.5 the prior year. WWE Shop.com, $7.9 million, up from $6.8 the prior year. So that's really, really strong growth on its own. WWE Studios, down $700,000.
You mean the Jetsons movie didn't make as much as they expected it to?
The resurrection of Gavin Stone was not the hot seller. Yeah. So, let's see. So the notes on the merch too. Venue merchandise revenues increased 29% to the $7.1 million due to an increase in the total attendance, which they said attendance was up this year 100,000 overall in Q1 over Q1 2016. Which I was like, that's good. And the average ticket price was up as well. It was up to $51.15, 7% increase year over year. I already said that. Paid subscribers, they had 1,165,000 in the U.S., 409,000 internationally in Q1, at the end of Q1.
And, I mean, internationally isn't really that accurate a description because you can only get the network in certain countries. I mean, like...
It's well over 100 now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much available everywhere.
Well, I knew that, like, it just launched in Japan, I thought, recently.
Yeah, it did back around when Shinsuke came into NXT, I think. So it's been a while.
I don't really know what I'm talking about, so continue.
International live event revenue was $1.5 million as compared to $2.5 million, but they had 2 fewer events during the quarter and a 48% reduction in average attendance to 4,000. But they also had a 92% increase in the average ticket price internationally. So it offset quite a bit of it.
Well then.
The average international ticket price is $86.53 USD. Woo! which
I
is
guess, they only come around
yeah,
that rarely. So.
exactly. Which is why they want to make this big push into China and UK and India, and that's on the 10 count. I'm not going to mention it. So what's interesting to see here is this is all right now, and ratings are down. I'll cover that in the 10 count. But TV contracts, which is the most money they make on a quarterly basis and on an annual basis, domestically, the contract with NBC Universal is up at the end of Q3, so the end of July, January, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Jesus, I work in a business where I should know these things. The end of September 2019. So they've got roughly 2 years to get their shit together to get the ratings up. Because remember, this TV contract too that they're working on now with NBC Universal is half of what they thought they were going to get last time.
Yeah.
So, and then also the end of Q4 2019 is when the two other largest contracts are up in the UK and India. Now, the revenue in that segment is going to keep increasing because these are all staged contracts that gradually increase year over year. But I'm interested to see what happens next year, or when negotiations start. Yeah. And they asked, someone asked in the Q&A on the conference call too if negotiations had begun, if there were any kind of preliminary, and they're like, we're not going to comment on that publicly, which it makes sense. The correct business. Overall, stock opened at $20.45 today, closed at $19.79, down 4.76%. So they took a little bump, but nothing too heavy. And a lot of it had to do with their operating income only being $4 million true, and their adjusted OIBDA was $18.6 million. And that takes another podcast to explain. But they're making money.
I think that actually is more reflecting on the state of the business more so than anything else, and that, like, there's been a lot of discussion about, and we'll discuss the ratings later on, but just the way that the business itself seems to be going. Apparently they're marketing themselves pretty well outside of that, in that they have they're drawing, they're doing well in live shows and things like that, so that the fan base is there. People want to go see wrestling now. They want to, buy merchandise, that type of thing. So the fans that are there, they're there. And I mean, we'll talk about TV later, but I mean, yeah, that I would look at those numbers as a positive overall. Like, as an investor, looking at the viewership numbers going down would make me feel a little bit concerned, but seeing the other numbers would make me feel a little bit better personally.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm not an investor. So.
Right. And a lot of the investor uncertainty with the company, right? And uncertainty's way too strong of a word to use. A lot of their issue is with the fact that corporate costs were much higher than anticipated. They said due to, like, the stock price increasing and bonuses that were paid out due to performance, and also ongoing legal proceedings and things that they have going on. So that
thanks, CM Punk.
Yeah, so things like that, which they expect to drop off the books. They're still shooting for $100 million, basically. To simplify it, $100 million in profit at the end of the year. They still expect to hit that. Like, Jesus Christ.
It's good to be the king.
Yep. All right, moving on from the E. Billy Corgan bought the NWA. So let's go from talking about $188 million in net revenue to the NWA. That is now owned by lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan. Okay.
Yeah. And from what I've kind of gotten out of this, because it's a little bit hard to understand what actually he purchased, because the NWA itself has been more of a kind of concept more than an actual physical thing for years now. Back in the 80s and 90s and, years before that, the NWA was, it was a governing agency that kind of oversaw all these regional promotions, because back before Vince McMahon kind of went national and before the advent of cable TV and that type of thing, you had regional promotions in every state pretty much, or region, that ran their own wrestling shows and had their own champions and that type of thing. And what the NWA was, it was just kind of an umbrella organization that kept all these things together and said, okay, well, we will have a centralized champion, a world champion that will go out to your particular card for X amount of money and that type of thing as a draw. And it's an agreed upon champion that goes out to, who actually travels, but all these other wrestlers aren't traveling for the most part because they're your regional wrestlers that stay there, because you don't need to operate in other states and things like that because expenses are as much as they are. But as cable TV kind of went and the regional promotions kind of went off to the side, the NWA kind of lost its importance because you didn't have the regional promotions kind of didn't exist anymore. They got kind of blended in together. What was basically the NWA turned into World Championship Wrestling. Jim Crockett's promotion, which was the regional promotion out of the Carolinas, and kind of merged together with Georgia Championship Wrestling, kind of got into the Florida region, and that kind of expanded into what ended up becoming, when Crockett sold out to Ted Turner, this kind of regional area became a competitor for WWF called WCW, World Championship Wrestling. Once World Championship Wrestling became a thing, the NWA kind of got phased out over time, but it still existed. And they kept their own championship, and it kind of worked alongside, and WCW and NWA worked together for a period of time, and eventually WCW said, screw you, we don't need your organization and things like that. We've got our own champion. We're going to kind of do it just the same way that WWF did it years before. So ever since like the mid-90s, the NWA has been this kind of organization that kept the little independent organizations going. If you wanted to be a little bit more legitimate of an independent organization, you affiliated with the NWA and maybe you got a little bit better talent coming to town, like a CM Punk or somebody like that would come into town and get booked through the NWA because you were an NWA affiliate. You weren't just a little nobody somewhere. But with that, you had to deal with all these kind of rules and restrictions, and a lot of promotions, I know some people that actually dealt with the NWA would kind of give that up because it was too many restrictions or too much kind of bullshit was a lot of the terms that I ended up hearing. Yeah. So now it became this kind of thing that used to be a thing, but it's just kind of something in name now that, I mean, back 20 years ago, it was a shell of its former self. And now it's just, it's almost like going out and buying a trademark of some toy or some product that used to sell in the 70s and 80s that somebody's going to kind of bring back in a retro type of way. And what, I don't know how much Billy ended up paying for the trademarks or whatever, but I mean, there are possibilities with it. I mean, Billy seems like a guy who really likes wrestling and wants to do something, and he wanted to do something with TNA, and it just didn't end up happening for all the reasons that it didn't. He wants to do something, and I mean, something could come out of it, but I don't know.
Do you think he tries to rebuild the NWA by finding territories or indies or whatever you want to call them to build it back out to what it was. Or, you know, it in this day and age will never be what it was.
No, it's never going to be what it was. And I mean, I think he could turn around and make some. What he's doing now in purchasing it is he's giving the NWA exposure again that it hasn't had since the 90s. The last time, like, people kind of the last times you knew about the NWA pretty much on television were pretty much when they tried to get into ECW and Shane Douglas took the NWA title and threw it down on the ground and proceeded to say that it was a washed up organization and that his ECW championship was the only belt that he cared about, which, oh, the stories that can be told about that. Then Dennis Corluzzo, who ran the NWA in the late 90s, worked out kind of a deal with the WWF at the time to kind of get like Jim Cornette and the NWA champions on TV. That's why you ended up seeing the Rock and Roll Express every once in a while. And Dan Severn showed up for reasons that no one can fully explain, to kind of get the NWA a little bit of exposure on that. But that was when Vince was kind of looking in all different directions to kind of make his product a little bit more fresh since he was getting killed by WCW. And he was doing things like, maybe we'll get the NWA involved and we'll get Jim Cornette here and maybe we'll get some Smoky Mountain guys and, ooh, maybe we'll do something with this ECW group. Maybe that'll be something different. And just looking for something that would stick. And then the only other thing really that NWA has been part of that anyone's cared about is when they were first involved with TNA, because TNA was NWA TNA when it first started off.
Yep.
And the affiliation with Jeff Jarrett and things like that. And you had the champions of TNA was the NWA World Champion for a period of time until eventually they got away from the NWA because it just really wasn't worth the hassle. So I don't know if maybe Billy's going to make it a little bit easier to work with the NWA. I mean, because all NWA is right now is a title line heritage, a story pretty much. Like, yeah, we used to be something. And it's not... That's all you kind of have right now. I mean, their champions are indie guys that are whatever. To think that, like, the championship title that used to be held by Harley Race and Ric Flair and Carl Gotch and Lou Thez and people like that are now being held by, like, you know, guys that wrestle in 40-seat high school gymnasiums that are wearing, like, sweatpants in the ring. It's just...
Do you want to go through their list of champions? See if you
Go
know
for
see
it.
if you know what. All right. NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He won it October 21st, 2016. It is his first reign. He's held the belt for 195 days. His name is Tim Storm.
Not Devin Storm.
NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion. Held the belt for 26 days. Won it on April 8th. Eric Andrews.
Okay, well...
World Tag Team Champions. Kazushi Miyamoto and Rob Terry.
Not Chris Terry.
World Women's Championship. The longest holder of an NWA title at 230 days. Jazz. Yes, that Jazz. I clicked to the link just to make sure.
Well, all right then. Good for her.
Yeah. The North American Heavyweight Champion is Mustang Mike.
I like that. That's a good name. That's a quality independent wrestling name.
Yeah. And the National Heavyweight Championship is Kagas. Kahagas.
I don't have anything to say about that.
So, yeah, the NWA needs some help. Go Billy Corgan.
Yeah.
You know what else needs help, Tom?
What else outside of the segment?
Yep. Bailing
Yeah.
quickly. We need help. Cheaters Never Pin needs your help, ladies and gentlemen.
Obviously.
Yeah. More than just being here to listen to us and things like that. We also like your money. Your money can help us. Can help pay for hosting and podcasting.
Better scripts for us to read while we're doing these segments.
It can pay for me to get some Adderall so I can stay awake and write better things. I would never use your money to buy street Adderall.
Now, we'd get prescriptions.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, if you go to cheatersneverpin.com and click the Patreon button on the front page, it takes you to our Section 328 Patreon. And right there, you can chip in a few bucks every month to help support all of the Section 328 media empire, including us, to help pay for equipment and hosting and everything that goes into running websites and recording podcasts for you all. So we would greatly appreciate, even if it's $1 a month, throw it our way. We would greatly appreciate it. And it makes us feel better. It makes me smile.
It's not even 52 cents a day. I mean, 52 cents a day is actually
That's way more than $1 a month.
Yeah, that's
a
lot more.
If you're feeling 52 cents a day, do it. Otherwise, otherwise Tom and I are gonna have to go buy the shit fridge house in Missouri because that's all we can afford.
And I have to buy the Aldi Uncrustables, which are not as good.
I've been told the peanut butter does not freeze as hard.
It does not.
So if you want us to not live in shit fridge house and eat Uncrustables, cheatersneverpin.com. Click the Patreon button. My ad reads have been atrocious this evening.
Well, that one was better than the other one, I think.
Way better. All right, 10 count time. Let's blow through it. We've already been doing this for an hour and 20 minutes.
That's what we do.
Yep. Number one, the World of Sport tapings for ITV and Britain have been postponed due to contract negotiations or something. I don't know if this has anything to do with the Impact partnership or talent signing with WWE for this UK show that's taping very, very soon. But these tapings are postponed. Just interesting wrinkle in this story.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think a decent amount of it has to do with the fact that money's kind of getting thrown around over there now with WWE, and when you start seeing talent going there and people that maybe you used to work with that are getting noticed and the feelers start to get out there, maybe you start to second guess the promotions that you were working for. So yeah, things get shaken up a little bit.
Absolutely. Number two, Best of the Super Juniors, the New Japan tournament that basically determines the number one contender, unless the champion wins, for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. The blocks for that have been announced. I'm going to read the B block first because the A block is dramatically better. Not that the B block is bad. But in the B block, Tiger Mask 4, Raisuke Taguchi Kushida, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, El Desperado, and Bushi from New Japan, Volador Jr. from CMLL, and ACH. It's a fun block. There's some good matchups in there, I think. You know, like Kushida, ACH, like I'm down for that. Give me that. A block, Jushin Thunder Liger, Ricochet, Will Ospreay, Taichi, Taka Michinoku, the champion, Hiromu Takahashi, Dragon Lee from CMLL, and Ring of Honor's Marty Scurll.
Yeah.
That block is fire!
Liger's not going to win a match. It's going to make me sad.
Yeah, he's the new Hanma. He's the G1 Hanma here. Except,
yeah, I mean, just like Best of the Super Juniors is always a fun tournament to just.
It's so great.
I mean, that's what got me into Japanese wrestling back in the 90s. Like, I mean, those were the tapes that you actively look for with trading to see. I mean, like, you had Eddie Guerrero over there Benoit, Malenko, Liger, El Samurai, Sasuke. I mean, just all these like incredible juniors that like nobody had seen anything like what they were doing, and it's such a showcase for them.
Yep. And that A block, man. So we're gonna get a Ricochet Ospreay rematch from last year. It's exciting. I think a Takahashi Ospreay match is gonna be hot. A Skrull Takahashi match too. It's all going to be good. I'm excited. Number 3, New Japan had their Wrestling Dontaku show. Kenny Omega defeated Tomohiro Ishii. Let's see. Kazuchika Okada retained his title against Bad Luck Fale. Evil Sonata and Bushi of Los Ingobernables are the new Never Six-Man champions, taking the belts off Tanahashi, Ricochet, and Ryusuke Taguchi. War Machine retained the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Champs against the Guerrillas of Destiny. And Cody defeated David Finlay, and then picked up a mic and said he's ready for them to give him someone bigger. So I don't know if they're building to him and Okada or what, but that seems to be the working theory.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's New Japan, slow burn. They'll get there.
I was going to say, you're not going to see anything until potentially like the end of the year or something like that for Cody. They'll build him slowly. And
I could see them doing Cody versus Okada at one of the G1 special shows in Long Beach in July.
Yeah.
So, it's a possibility. Number 4, the last bit of New Japan news. Hanma is walking again after having a pretty serious injury after a draping DDT just gone wrong. So that's good to know.
That still scares me that, like, to see Randy Orton does that move all the time. Yep. And just, and it was just such a freak occurrence, but I mean, it's something that happens. I mean, anytime you do a DDT in general, you can take it wrong and you're putting that impact on the back of your neck. So, just scary stuff, and it's good to see that he's healing up and getting better.
Yep. Number 5, Alberto Del Rio continues to be a piece of shit. He that editorialized much. What Culture? He missed a What Culture pro wrestling show with a quote unquote illness. He also had to cancel. I think he had like a interview. I think they call it Beyond the Ropes or something. I can't remember exactly what they call it, but it's like a one-on-one interview that they sell tickets to. He had to cancel that too. So who knows? It's Alberto El Patron.
Yeah, whatever. I'm so over him.
Yeah. Yep. Number 6, X-Pac, Sean Waltman got busted for weed and meth at LAX. Claimed what he was holding was to treat a yeast infection.
I was not expecting that second part.
Me either.
The meth he denies.
Right.
Or, whatever. And the weed he says he actually has a prescription for or whatever for, I don't know what his issue is, but yeah, he's supposedly been clean for a little while. The quote that I got was, he's been clean except for the weed. So, but technically he's using it medicinally and I guess legally. So, I mean, well, technically I guess that's clean-ish, but I know people who are sober that would say, no, that's not.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
Right. And also, apparently, whatever amount of whatever he had on them was a felony amount. So, interesting notes. We'll keep following it.
Still sad to see, though. I mean,
I love X-Pac. So,
yeah.
Number 7, Raw ratings hit a 20-year low with a 2.86 average viewership. SmackDown posted its lowest rating of 2017 this past week. But they making that money.
And again, ratings are going to go down just in general because of the way cable ratings are in general. It's still one of the highest rated shows on TV in regards to cable. So just in general, the way that cable viewing is and people getting away from specifically like cable packages and doing more on demand and things like that. I mean, I cut the cord a few months back, so again, I do have a live streaming service. I use Sling TV, so that I can watch Raw live if I want to and SmackDown live if I want to. But a lot of times, I mean, it's just like, I know that it's going to be on Hulu too, so I can watch it the next day. So it's not that rush necessarily. So, and I think in general, like, I mean, ratings are going to be down across the board for everything. So I don't see it as it's kind of like, you know, when you look at like money and inflation, like, oh, well, something used to be 5 cents in the 30s and now it's, you know, $14. Well, you know, it meant something different back then. It's not the same.
The thing to watch is when the NBA finals end, if ratings rebound, which they will a little bit for sure. But hopefully they get back to where they were. If not, Monday Night Football has me very concerned.
I see what you did there with the NBA and rebound.
Yeah. Number 8, WWE announced they're starting an Arabic language show, which will be highlights and interviews for that market, which is exciting. Again, expanding that global reach, that international money.
I don't know if that type of show, I mean, is something that actually people care about. You know, when it is interviews and that type of, if that's a show that people watch, I don't know. But that market seems to be starved for any kind of wrestling activity and, you know, shows like that. So, they realize that there is a huge market that needs to be tapped, and they're going for it. So, I mean, it's smart for them to do, to go more worldwide.
Yep. Number 9, Birdie Joe's running real late. That would be the baby that Brie Bella is pregnant with and is now 4 days late past the due date. So best wishes to Daniel Bryan and Brie whenever this happens.
Yeah, I didn't even realize, like, I have no concept of when she announced that she was pregnant or whatever, and then I happened to see a picture and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, she real pregnant.
Well, it's what happens too when you're kind of, you know, when you're thin and then you
True.
have a baby inside of you.
Yeah. Parasite.
Yeah.
Oh shit, moved my tab in the wrong place. Number 10, CMLL star, former trio champion, Brazo de Oro, I typed pro, Brazo de Oro, passed away this past Friday at the age of 66. Huge legend in CMLL. Like I said, was trios champions there, worked with a lot of his family, wrestled on World Pro Wrestling in Japan as well. The key part of this story, the most interesting part, his son was actually scheduled in the main event at the show at Arena Mexico the next day, their anniversary show. So a huge show for them. His son, La Máscara, went on to wrestle, of course, won his match. Was very emotional at the end, walked up to the very top of the arena where a poster of his father hung, took it down, draped it over his shoulders, and brought it back down to the ring. I love that emotion. I'm sad his father has passed, a legend of the business. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. Not that I know that much about him because I don't really watch CMLL, but pretty big story.
Yeah, I mean, that's just going by that symbolism that you were going there. I mean, that's kind of the way that you want to pay tribute. That was a nice tribute.
Yep. All right, Tom, one more segment.
Oh, right. I almost forgot about that.
Time for the match exchange. This needs music. This segment needs music.
Do.
Match exchange. All right, Tom. I made you watch Candice LeRae and Joey Ryan, the world's cutest tag team, versus the Young Bucks in a guerrilla warfare match at PWG. What'd you think?
Oh.
Oh,
So,
no!
No. Relax.
Okay.
So what got me back into wrestling, like, in the 90s was ECW. And just the way that, I mean, ECW kind of has a love-hate relationship with certain people, especially looking back. If you didn't kind of go through it during the 90s, you kind of look back at it and you're like, oh, well, you know, was it kind of, it was a little shitty at areas and it was good in certain other areas. But one of the things about ECW was that they would have these incredibly live crowds and that just got into everything, and you'd have some of these matches with the plunder and the weapons and that type of thing. And that's what this match reminded me of. This PWG crowd was just insane. Just a really great live crowd. And the Bucks work a crowd so well too. I mean, they have ring psychology. They do that so well. But I mean, just in general, the four of them all just work this crowd. I mean, I love tag wrestling. I love the psychology of tag wrestling, and this was done so extremely well. Just having, I guess, the spot, I will call it the spot, where the Bucks look for the tack-filled, what is it, a sock, right?
Yes.
I guess it was,
It's a little
yeah.
bag. It's a little bag.
Yeah. Well, and that they're building this drama to hit Joey Ryan with it, and Candice, like, runs in to defend Joey
You're
Ryan.
talking about the shoe that has the thumbtacks.
Was it
glued
the
in
shoe? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
To go to defend him, and like they stop, realizing, oh well, we can't hit Candice with the shoe, like, you know, it's got tacks and spikes or whatever in it, you know. They're like, they stop and they like turn around and they're like, nope, and then they nail her with it, and the crowd just loses their mind.
Oh.
And Candice comes back and she's a crimson mask.
She is off the Buddha scale.
Yeah, and just like that imagery, and I've seen women bleed before, and like just to see her, and I guess the thing is too, I mean, she plays such a good Ricky Morton face in peril. I mean, with the issue that going into it, well, not going into it, because I've seen parts of this match before being assigned it. Part of the issue that I've kind of had with the mixed gender matches and having women wrestle with men in the past it's always been extremely gimmicky, because it didn't necessarily match up. When you had Jacqueline or when you had like Chyna or whatever, it just didn't work, because I don't know, it just never worked for me. But now that wrestlers, for the most part, are small, and you have guys like the Bucks that aren't big guys, when you put a Candice LeRae in there, she's just basically a little bit smaller than the rest of the group. It's believable that she can pull off moves. When you have a 130-pound girl delivering a dropkick to a 280-pound muscle-bound guy, it's not. You have that suspension of belief a lot stronger than you would necessarily in a match where she delivers a dropkick to a young buck. It's a little bit more believable that way. And it was just, I mean, the crowd was hot. The psychology was great. It was an excellent match. I highly recommend it. Just if you can get past the imagery of this girl bleeding all over the place, then you'll be good. And even if you can't, it's still a match to watch.
What's your rating?
4.5.
4.5. New champion for you.
Well, you gave me 2 matches so
That's
far.
True. All right, you gave me from 1993 in All Japan, Kenta Kobashi and Stan Hansen.
Brrr.
So I'm going to echo the things you said about your match. The psychology of this match was fantastic. The storytelling here was top notch. This match was slow as shit, Tom.
Oh, yeah. Well, Stan's not a spring chicken.
Right.
And
I mean, I'm going to look at it. I'm going to present it in the context of when it happened and then also the context of now. So for the time and place in which it happened, holy shit, this is a fucking barn burner. These two big-ass dudes are beating the shit out of each other outside of the ring, inside the ring, lariats all over the place. Lariato! Both directions. Crazy. Brutal. It was a brutal match, physically. No color, nothing like that, but like they were beating the shit out of each other, and I appreciated it. And back then, that'd have been fucking awesome. Looking at it in 2017, I'd rather see the Big Show and Braun Strowman. I'm
you
sorry.
millennials.
I know. It was just, I look at it, and the whole time I'm like, all right, I have to think about this match in the context of what had happened. But having never seen that match, I have to rate it in the context of my knowledge of professional wrestling. And it's a 3.5-star match, Tom.
Okay.
I mean,
I'll allow it.
Again, because of the storytelling and the control they had on that crowd, which that crowd was hot for both of them. So I mean, they just need to go out there. They just stand there, and they had them because the power of Kobashi being the star that he was, and the power of Hansen being the Gaijin star that comes in and has always owned Japan. So, I mean, it was a good match, and I enjoyed it. But I was like, okay, cool, moving on. All right, what do you got for me? What am I watching this week?
Okay, well, see, I don't know what you've seen. Like, I assume you've seen everything kind of more recently, so I keep trying to go back.
That's fine. Educate me.
And I ended up going back to 1992.
Okay.
In probably a match that got me interested in Japanese wrestling in general, although it is not a Japanese wrestling match. It took place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, at WCW Super Brawl 2. Brian Pillman
okay.
challenges Jushin Liger for the WCW Light Heavyweight Championship. This was the first time, I believe, that Pillman and Liger faced each other, at least in the United States. And I kind of went in this direction because, one, this was how I learned about Jushin Liger. At the time, WCW was kind of working with establishing a relationship with New Japan and would bring over random people, it seemed, from New Japan to kind of give them American experience, I guess. So you had guys like Kensuke Sasaki and Liger and Tatsumi Fujinami and people like that coming over kind of willy-nilly here and there, and then WCW would go over to Japan and do the occasional card here and there and that type of thing. But they ended up having Liger come over, and Liger did a decent amount of American work where he was, for the most part, used badly. But at the time, this was 1992, and you didn't really have that much in the way of light heavyweight wrestling, or, flippy shit, as you can call it, too. And Liger was just fascinating to me. And Pillman, this is like prime Pillman, where he was just doing all this, he was flying Brian. He wasn't Brian Pillman. He was flying Brian. Right. And just to see, I mean, if you remember Pillman from like the mid to loose cannon Pillman and like WWF run Pillman. This isn't him. This is like babyface Pillman to just doing all these moves off the top rope before Bill Watts banned him from doing anything off the top rope. This is what got him the contract that like Bill Watts would resent him for. But I mean, they have a hell of a match, and again, you may have to take it in context for 1992 in contrast to, it's not going to be the type. If two guys had this type of match today, it would be like, well, it's not as great. But you have to kind of frame it in the concept of 1992 when you're normally having guys like Doink wrestle and things like that, where to give you kind of a context of it, the match, this was the opener for Super Brawl 2. The dark match before that was Big Josh beating Diamond Dallas Page.
Bang.
And the match after that was Marcus Bagwell beating Terry Taylor. And there was a match also on this card where Tom Zank teamed with Van Hammer to face a heel Ricky Morton and Vinny Vegas, who is now Kevin Nash.
I might just watch this whole show.
There are some good matches on this show, and there are some garbage matches on this show. So, main evented by Sting Luger. So,
I'll skip that. Okay, so mine that's on the network.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can link that. I think I can network link things. I don't know. All right, so I have a I picked out two, and it's dependent on this question I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Have you watched Lucha Underground?
I have seen some Lucha Underground.
What have you seen?
I don't know. I've watched matches here and there.
If I was to give you Vampiro versus Pentagon Jr. from Ultima Lucha 1, you'd already
no.
I would say you'd know. Just saying that. All right. So in honor of Cinco de Mayo,
such themes.
Yep. Your mission is to watch Vampiro versus Pentagon Jr., which you just type that into YouTube and it'll come up. The full match is available from El Rey on the YouTube. This match is set up by the Ultima Lucha is their season finale.
Right.
So this is the ultimate blow-off of the year. All year, Pentagon has been talking about needing to be in service of his master, and that's why he's been horribly injuring people and breaking everyone's arms and threatening to break Melissa Santos, the ring announcer's arm, and threatening to injure Dario Cueto and all these people, and trashing people and causing bloody messes wherever he goes. And the only person that has stood up to him is Vampiro, the commentator. So they decide to have a match with no rules.
See, I saw something, and I think it was the tail end of maybe season 2, where Pentagon, I think, becomes Dark Pentagon.
Pentagon Dark, yep. That happens.
Yeah.
That kind of starts in season 2. Yep.
And I think it was the finale where he ends up, like, going, like, nuts on Vampiro and, like, just, like, beating the hell out of him and leaving him bleeding in the middle of the ring. But that wasn't a match, so.
Right. Well, this is their Cero Miedo match. Their zero fear match. Yep. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay.
It's incredible. I think the full finish of it is on here too. Yep.
Well,
okay. I just had to look.
I was going to say, well, it should be, isn't it on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix too. All of Lucha Underground's on Netflix. Or if you want to just do just that match, if someone's listening and they don't have Netflix, I'll link the YouTube video straight up too. On cheatersneverpin.com. You'll be able to find the video for this and a link to WWE Network for Super Brawl.
And it may be somewhere else, technically, if you're not a subscriber to the WWE Network, but
I'm not going to link that.
no.
But yeah,
Screw you guys.
give it a watch. I'm real interested to hear what you say about this.
Okay.
But happy Cinco de Mayo, Tom.
I'll get my cervezas and give it a watch.
You're going to need several. And I don't mean that in a bad way. All right. Tom, I think we're done. Almost 2 hours.
I think people have had enough.
We went mania length today, and I have no idea how.
I don't either.
Anyway, well, tell the people where they can find you on the internet.
Quickly, just go on Twitter and find me at Mr. Workrate, at MR Workrate, and that's pretty much it. You know the whole spiel otherwise.
Yep. I'm on Twitter at JCBobbitt, JCBOBBITT. You can find the show on the Twitter machine at Cheaters Never Pin, Cheaters in VR Pin, Facebook.com/Cheaters Never Pin. And then rate, review, and subscribe this podcast wherever you find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, YouTube, and on our host Spreaker. Boom. We're finally done.
So long.
That was a long one.
We're sorry, everyone.
But not really. Sorry. Not sorry.
Oh.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. Have a wonderful weekend out there. From the Triangle's #1 wrestling-based podcast, Cheaters Never Pin, I'm JC.
I'm Tom.
And we'll see you on the flip side.